Clara Mae Thompson had finally saved enough for a hot meal, the first in weeks, but tonight she faced an impossible choice. A single mother working for minimum wage at the Bluebird Diner, she needed $68 for her daughter's asthma medication, money she didn't have. As a storm raged outside, an elderly couple appeared, wet, stranded, and desperate. Clara didn't yet know that the decision she was about to make would change everything. A single act of kindness would cost her nothing, yet for her, it meant giving up the one thing she had managed to afford, risking her daughter's well-being. Her daughter's life depended on those pills, and yet Clara found herself torn between saving a stranger or protecting her child. The small digital clock glowed 4:45 a.m., but Clara didn't need an alarm. Worry crowed in her soul long before the sun rose, marking the start of another day of impossible decisions. Clara Mae Thompson rose in the dim pre-dawn light, her bare feet touching the cold floorboards, a sharp reminder of the broken furnace and the biting November chill. In the corner, her 7-year-old daughter, Penny, slept under mismatched blankets, her soft, rhythmic breaths a comfort and a constant worry, each inhalation a fragile victory against asthma. Clara's eyes drifted to the fridge, where a bill of $2,147 stared back like a living accusation, stacked atop the mountains of debt she carried from hospital visits, pharmacies, and labs. From the worn shoebox that served as their savings, she counted $11.42, enough for Penny's school lunch, the bus fare, and maybe a small cup of soup for herself. The $68 inhaler sat beside it, impossible to afford, and the pharmacist's gentle refusal echoed in her mind. She pulled on her faded jeans and sweatshirt, pausing by a framed photograph of her grandfather, Sergeant Elias Thompson, a man whose courage and principles haunted her with both pride and expectation. Penny stirred, asking for pancakes, and Clara's heart clenched. Flour and water were all she had. She promised cinnamon toast instead, hiding the tears that threatened to spill. Together, they walked to the bus stop, passing modest homes sagging under years of wear, then glimpsing the pristine estates just blocks away, a stark reminder of the world they couldn't reach. She tucked the lunch money into Penny's pocket, kissed her forehead, and watched the yellow bus vanish, leaving her alone with the relentless pressure of the $68 she lacked for Penny's inhaler. On the bus, she stared out at the abandoned textile mill and her town, the monotony of work, worry, and survival pressing down. At the Bluebird Diner, a relic of a bygone era, she tied her apron and entered the kitchen, the smell of coffee and bacon mingling with years of conversations. Gus, the gruff yet kind owner, nodded at her, and Brenda, the cheerful waitress, offered a comforting smile. Clara submerged her hands in scalding water, scrubbing and rinsing dishes with raw, chapped hands that bore the marks of endless toil. As she worked, her mind raced through Penny's upcoming parent-teacher conference, the girl's quiet brilliance shadowed by anxiety far beyond her years. Lunchtime offered her a small reprieve. She borrowed $4 from Gus, saving another dollar toward the $68, and allowed herself a hidden luxury, a $20 stash from a generous tip to buy a proper meal, a cheeseburger and fries, a small defiance against the gnawing emptiness. By late afternoon, storm clouds gathered and rain battered the diner, blurring the outside world into a swirl of water and headlights. The dinner rush was slow, and Clara, exhausted and hungry, finished her shift, tying her apron one last time before stepping into the storm. Her life was a relentless cycle of survival, yet beneath it all she clung to hope, a fragile, stubborn insistence that she would endure, that she could find a way to keep Penny safe, warm, and breathing through another cold November night. The thought of the cheeseburger was a beacon of light in Clara Mae Thompson's bleak day. "Gus, can I get the number 3 to go?" she asked softly. He nodded. "Sure thing, Claire. You earned it." As he turned to the grill, the bell above the diner door chimed. 2 figures entered, dripping wet, an elderly couple, utterly out of place. The man was tall, lean, silver-haired, wearing an expensive soaked coat. The woman, small and elegant, clutched a ruined camel coat. Their eyes scanned the nearly empty diner, relief and weariness mingling on their faces. Brenda hurried with coffee, sliding it into their hands, and they settled into the booth Clara always thought of as lucky. Their hands trembled around the mugs, a silent admission of vulnerability, and Clara felt an odd kinship, experts in hardship meeting novices undone by circumstance. Gus placed her to-go bag on the counter, The hot, greasy cheeseburger and fries, the reward of a hard week's labor. Clara's fingers closed around her carefully saved $20 bill, but her gaze drifted to the couple. The woman rummaged in a leather purse, the man patting down his pockets. Horror slowly dawned. They were stranded, carless, walletless, powerless against the storm. Clara's hand tightened around her money, every instinct screaming to keep it. This meal was her small, earned pleasure, her lifeline. Yet in the woman's eyes she saw fear, humiliation, helplessness, the reflection of her own constant anxiety. Her grandfather's words echoed, "It's about making the hard right instead of the easy wrong." With a sigh carrying the weight of her life, Clara approached their booth. "Excuse me," she whispered. The couple looked up politely wary. Clara stammered, her face flushing. "I couldn't help but overhear. It seems you're in a bit of a jam." The man stiffened. "We're fine, thank you. Our driver is just delayed." A lie, all three knew it. The woman's blue eyes met Clara's. "We seem to have misplaced our wallets. Our car broke down, and the storm came suddenly. The phones were dead." Clara's heart ached with recognition, the terrifying snap of life's thin threads. Turning back to the counter, she pushed the bag toward Gus. "Can you give this to them? And 2 bowls of your tomato soup, the good stuff, not canned. This should cover it." Her stomach twisted as she placed the $20 bill on the counter. Gus, stunned, took it slowly, seeing beyond her worn uniform to the woman beneath. "I'm sure," she said, her voice steadier than she felt. She didn't wait for their reaction, grabbing her coat and plunging into the storm. The rain hit like a physical blow, soaking her to the bone, chilling her through wet jeans and thin sneakers. Hunger gnawed at her, sharp and biting. Every step home was a battle against the wind, her body aching and trembling. Her mind flashed to Penny, the little girl sleeping peacefully, her laughter, her small hand tucked into Clara's. For her daughter, surrender was impossible. Inch by icy inch, she pushed forward. Finally inside, shivering and drenched, Clara tiptoed to Penny's side, marveling at the soft wheeze of her sleep, a painful reminder of the medicine she couldn't yet afford. She drank water to dull the emptiness, opened the nearly bare fridge, and stared at the small bottle of Penny's inhaler and the 1,104 on the counter. It wasn't enough for food or medicine, but enough to remind her of how trapped she was. She climbed into bed, thin blanket clutched, mind racing over her choice. The $20 meal she gave away, a stranger helped, a lesson lived. Morning arrived muted and gray. She made Penny cinnamon toast, walked her to the bus stop, and returned home, weighing her next shift and the $68 inhaler problem she couldn't solve. Then she saw it, a long black sedan parked outside, impossibly out of place. A chauffeur stood rigid by the door, and Walter, the elderly man from the diner, stepped out, transformed, a tailored gray suit, silver hair combed, calm and composed. "Clara May Thompson," he said politely. She could only nod. "We met last night," he continued. "I believe you did me a kindness. I've come to repay the favor." Behind him, bags of groceries began to unload onto her sidewalk. Clara stood frozen, disbelief tilting her world. The storm had passed, but her life had been forever shifted by a single act of courage and compassion. The familiar drab colors of Clara's street clashed with the impossible shine of the black sedan and the vibrant grocery bags spilling from it. Whole Foods bags, filled with fresh fruit, vegetables, milk, crusty bread, more food than she had ever seen at once. I don't understand," she whispered, voice thin. Walter Covington stepped forward, eyes warm. "It's simple, Miss Thompson. Last night my wife and I were stranded and frightened. You helped us. You gave us your meal, paid for our taxi. This is a small gesture of gratitude." The chauffeur, Arthur, began carrying bags to her front door, efficient and respectful. Clara stammered, "But it was just a cheeseburger." "Nothing is nothing," Walter said firmly. "It was everything, a beacon of warmth and decency on a dark night. My wife insisted I find you. How did you know where I live?" she asked, suspicion creeping in. "You told Gus to call us a cab." "I called him this morning. He thinks highly of you." Clara's heart raced, her private struggles now known to a wealthy stranger. The porch soon overflowed with groceries, a harvest festival on her doorstep. "Please," she said, stepping back. "I can't accept this. It's too much." Walter's expression softened, taking in her small, shabby house. "May I be frank?" She nodded. "I wasn't born into this. I grew up just a few miles from here. My father worked at the old mill and lost his job when it closed. I know hunger, I know fear, I know what it's like to feel forgotten. Last night, for a few hours, my wife and I were reminded of that helplessness. Then you, carrying the weight of the world on your shoulders, showed us kindness. You did it because it was right, not for reward. That is rare. Allow me to honor it. Tears streamed freely down Clara's face, unashamed. He wasn't just giving food. He was validating her struggle, her strength. "Okay," she whispered. Walter's gaze softened toward the window where the red numbers of the specialist's bill were taped. "Your daughter has asthma, I hear." Clara nodded. "My granddaughter has it too," he said. "I know the cost, the fear. I want to help." He handed her a thick white envelope. "This is not charity, Miss Thompson. It's an investment in someone I want to see more of in this world." Clara's hands shook as she took it, recognizing the weight of money she had never seen. "You will pay your daughter's medical bills, fix your furnace, buy her a winter coat. Then think about your future." He handed her a business card. "Walter Covington, CEO, Covington Enterprises. When you're back on your feet, call this number. We'll find a place for you, a job, a career that uses your heart, not just your hands." "Why are you doing this?" she asked. "Because my grandfather was a man named Elias Thompson," he said softly. "He was a sergeant in the 101st Airborne. During the war, he saved my father's life. My father never forgot it. When I learned your name this morning, I knew this was my chance to repay that debt. Last night, you reminded me what my family stands for: kindness, decency, and paying our debts. The Thompson family character is strong. Thank you." He nodded, got into the sedan, and drove away. Clara stood on the sidewalk, envelope and card in hand, porch laden with food, her world irrevocably changed. She looked at the pale morning sun, feeling hope for the first time in years. Her grandfather would have been proud. Inside, she placed the envelope and card beside the $1,142 on her kitchen table. One by one, she carried in the groceries: fruit, bread, milk, savoring the scent of abundance and life, a world she had only ever glimpsed through store windows. The kitchen, once small and dreary, now brimmed with possibility. Her home, long defined by emptiness and the constant echo of what they lacked, now overflowed, a testament to the impossible turn her life had just taken. Clara unpacked everything with reverence, as if uncovering treasures: a warm roasted chicken, crusty sourdough, creamy milk, cheeses, pasta, fresh asparagus, even a decadent chocolate cake. For the first time, the refrigerator hummed full, the cupboards stocked, the small kitchen alive with possibility. Exhausted, she sat at the table and opened the envelope Walter Covington had left: $10,000 in crisp bills. She counted it twice, disbelief rooted in every fiber of her being. It was freedom, safety, a future. Her first thought was Penny's medicine. She grabbed a $100 bill and ran to the pharmacy. The walk, usually filled with shame, now light with hope. Mr. Henderson blinked in surprise as she paid for 3 months of asthma medication and cleared her account in full. Relief washed over her, nearly bringing her to her knees. Next, she paid the specialist, rent, electricity, and gas bills, each transaction lifting a weight she hadn't realized she had been carrying for years. That evening, Penny came home to a warm house, the air scented with roasting chicken and baking potatoes. Clara hugged her fiercely, watching her daughter eat like royalty, free from worry for the first time. She handed Penny the new inhaler, assuring her, "We have plenty now." And Penny's innocent question, "Are we rich now, Mommy?" brought a genuine laugh. "No, sweet pea, we're just okay. And for now, okay is everything." Life became a gentle dream. Clara quit the diner, spent her days with Penny, bought her new winter coat, a proper pair of shoes, and embraced the ordinary joys she had never known. Yet a quiet unease lingered. The money was a shield, but not a purpose. The business card Walter had given her sat on the nightstand, a silent promise. Inspired by her grandfather's courage, she finally dialed the number. Margaret, the warm, kind voice on the line, listened as Clara spoke of her skills, her love for organizing, and her knack for order. Weeks later, she had an interview. 2 weeks after, she began working as an administrative assistant at the foundation. The tower of glass and steel intimidated her, but Margaret guided her. Her desk, a small orchid beside a new computer, symbolized new beginnings. The work challenged her, demanded new skills, and yet, for the first time, Clara was using her mind to solve problems, not just endure life. She discovered her own capability, her own worth, and slowly, her world, once defined by struggle and survival, expanded into one of possibility, hope, and quiet triumph. Clara's years of meticulously planning every detail of her and Penny's survival had given her an unexpected set of skills. She was resourceful, efficient, and unflappable. Months passed, then a year, and her efforts were recognized. She was promoted, given more responsibilities, and soon was managing a program that supported single mothers, helping them find job training, affordable childcare, and safe housing. Here, Clara found her true calling. She saw her own story reflected in the faces of the women she helped. Their fear, their desperation, but also their fierce, unyielding hope. And she was able to give them what Walter Covington had given her, a chance. She met Maria, a young mother with 2 small children who had just lost her job. Maria's hands were raw and chapped, her eyes haunted, familiar to Clara's own past. Sitting beside her, Clara didn't just process forms. She listened. She helped Maria enroll in a nursing assistant program, secured subsidized daycare, and provided grocery cards to ease the first months. Clara became a guide, a confidant, a living example that storms pass and that hope, no matter how small, can be nurtured. She never saw Walter Covington in the office, yet his presence was felt everywhere. His philosophy of practical, respectful kindness was embedded in the foundation's work. He didn't just hand out money. He built ladders, invested in people, and honored their potential. 2 years after that fateful night at the diner, Clara was reviewing an application for a mobile asthma clinic for low-income neighborhoods. She read through the projected outcomes, the children who would receive free medication, the emergency room visits that would be prevented, and thought of Penny. Her daughter hadn't had a serious asthma attack in over a year and thrived in school, her room now filled with colorful paintings. Clara looked out the window at the city lights, a sea of stories, and marveled at the invisible threads connecting them all. From a battlefield in France decades ago, from her grandfather to a young soldier he had saved, through her act of kindness in a rain-slicked diner, to a millionaire's generosity, and now to her work helping countless others. She realized that one act of kindness is never truly solitary. It is like a stone thrown into a pond. The ripples spread, touching lives she may never see, creating waves of change that cross generations. Her grandfather had thrown a stone of courage. She had thrown a stone of compassion. Walter Covington had turned those ripples into a tidal wave of grace. Her life was no longer defined by survival. It was defined by purpose. Clara was no longer just Penny's mother. She was Clara Mae Thompson, a woman changing lives. She packed her briefcase, walking out of the gleaming office building tall and confident, far from the hunched figure she had once been. At home, Penny sat at the table finishing her homework. She had drawn a picture of their family standing in front of a cozy house, but in the sky above them was a smiling old man in a soldier's uniform, watching over them. "That's great, Grandpa Elias," Penny said, pointing. "You told me he was a hero." Clara knelt beside her, heart full. He was, Sweet Pea. He really was. She realized then that heroism isn't always grand gestures on battlefields. Sometimes it's sharing a meal during a storm, choosing hope over despair, or making the hard right instead of the easy wrong. In doing so, Clara hadn't just helped strangers, she had saved herself. But this story isn't just about Clara. It's about what happens when ordinary people choose the hard right over the easy wrong. Somewhere tonight, a single parent is skipping meals so their child can eat. A neighbor is giving without expecting anything back. Someone is making a choice whose ripples will extend far beyond their sight. Kindness doesn't end with the person who gives. It multiplies. Think about the last time someone sacrificed for you, even in a small way. Share it in the comments so we can remember together that generosity isn't rare. It's within all of us. Like this video if you believe one act of kindness can echo across generations. Subscribe for more stories proving that ordinary choices can create extraordinary change. Because tonight someone may give up their only meal and in doing so change the world.